ụlọ nsọ gị Chukwu ka ị na-abata, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Anya bịawa ịsọpụrụ gị ugbu a, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya, bịa o bịakwute ya, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Chukwu nna n'ụlọ gị ka ị na-akpọ gị, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Otito na-adịrị gị mgbe niile, bịakwute ya bịa zuru ike. Bịa o bịakwute ya.
Otito niile dịrị Chineke, ọbasi dị elu, Chukwu obiọma, Chidi ebere, Olisa nwa amara, ka ụzọ anyị niile ọbụla bụrụ ihe, ka ihe niile a kpatụrụ aka bụrụ sọ mma, ka ụwa niile site n'ozi ọma anyị a nwesa obi aṅụrị taa na ebighị ebi. Ọfọ Jagazie, ise. All praises to Chi, the Creator, the Supreme Being, Chi the Good, Chi the Magnificent with grace. Let every way of our lives be light. Let all our acts be crowned with good. And may the world prosper from our ministry, now and forever. So let it be. Amen.
And so it is. Ndewo. Welcome, welcome. Always a pleasure to see your smiling face. And of course, you've lost all that weight, so you're making the rest of us jealous. You're making the rest of us stress.
It happens.
He said, okay, he's throwing the gauntlet. Now we all have to start
bragging rights.
We start at akimbo. We're ready to lose the weight right along with you. Get healthy with you. That's a good thing.
Yes.
So welcome everyone. Welcome to Chism Live and Dibia UD. Thank you for that wonderful prayer.
My pleasure.
I'm your host, Dibia Chwaja, Dr. Wonyo Hosimiri. And of course, you've heard from our co-host, Dibia Ochwaja UD Onyoha. And for those of you who are born in this month, we're still in the month of Ofufe, which is June 30th through July the 27th. So I want to wish you a happy Earth Day, all of you who are born within this time frame. And here's the Ofufe. They're represented by palms facing up, prayer to Chineke. And so for all of you who are born at this time, this is your time. And what is the significance of this month? You know, it's a time that we are working to enjoin all of Chineke's, or everybody enjoined to Chineke's worship in the way you understand best. I shared that last month. You know, we all have diverse ways of doing things, and I suppose that's what makes Chineke almighty, to have all this diversity. That's what makes life fun. So all of us, this is a very good month. And of course, certainly every month we should be working hard to allow people to express their spirituality in the way that they understand best. So that is the important significance of this month. And then the spiritual energy this month is female. It's female energy, nurturing, protecting, and advocacy. That's the virtues for this month. So that's the important spiritual energy. So whether you're a man or a woman, you have to strive to be nurturing and be a protector for your family, for your community. Don't sit back and watch other people do what needs to be done to support your community. It's your responsibility. Protection And of course, advocate for the good of your community, whatever the nature of the advocacy. There's so many things you can advocate for. That's the spiritual energy for this month. The virtues of this month is commitment. Be committed. Be committed.
Yes,
What is it that you
yes.
want to do? What is it that you want to achieve? Commit to it. Don't let anybody steer you away from your commitment. Whatever that is, everything that you do, it takes one step at a time. You can have the big vision, but understand you cannot get there if you don't take the initial steps necessary to move forward. So commit to something. Commit, no matter how small, commit to something, because that's what life is all about. Your commitment to something is the fuel you need to move through this experience called life. So commit to something, write it down, whatever that may be. Even if your commitment requires that you bring people into your circle, that's what you must do. But you must be committed and be tenacious. Be tenacious as you're pushing your commitment. Don't give up. Don't after a little while decide, it's not going the way that I want. And then what happens? You give up. You don't. And you have to be tactful. Use your mind. Use your mind when you're doing anything. Your mind is given to you for a reason. You use it. So before you jump into anything, make sure that you understand what the processes are. Before you jump into the water, even if you can swim, you need to know what the current is. You just don't assume because you can swim, you just jump in. And that's the same thing with whatever it is you're doing. And like, use tact, make sure you're following the right directions. And of course, as I'm showing you, the symbol is 2 palms facing up, indicative of prayer. This month we have the decree from our ancestors, and that we must focus on. See, that's what's powerful about our spirituality. You don't just start doing anything. You must summon the ancestors. You must learn what it is, the expectations are, because the ancestors, though they're no longer with us, we carry out their actions. So some of the things that we should be doing to keep the community growing and keep their memory going is to stay clear. One of those things is stay clear of people who are selfish. Stay clear of people who are selfish. Craziness does not need your company. So if you know people who are doing things that are wrong, stay clear. Stay clear away from them. You have a lot to do without you being, getting into somebody's trap. The people who are selfish, it's all about them, and they may smile with you, but they are really smiling at you. There's a difference. Somebody who's smiling with you is in your corner. Somebody who's not is smiling at you. In other words, it's empty smile. It doesn't really mean anything. They're trying to get what they can out of you. So those such people who just care about themselves and do not care about the well-being of other people, stay clear. Stay clear. Misery does not need your company. We have a tendency to gravitate towards people who we think we like, but they really don't care about us. So be careful who you hang around with. And also, most importantly, if you're born this month, please make sure that you're flexible. Let your mind be flexible, because the world is full of different ideas, different opinions, different ideologies. Our culture. Our culture is our truth. And it's the same thing with your neighbor. It's the same thing with somebody else of a different culture. Their culture is their truth. And if they're sharing their truth, you have no business telling them it's not true, because that's their experience. For the most part, you speak of what you have experienced. That's your truth. And so it's imperative that we get in the habit of listening to other people, their opinions, even if it's different from us. So we need to be able to be open to adjust our perspectives on certain matters. There are certain things that you don't want to shift from, because you've already formed an opinion that's working for you and is healthy for you, your family, and your community. But when they're presented to you in a way that is different from what you are accustomed to, don't poo-poo it. Don't make it seem like, oh, it's nonsense, because it's not. The person who's presenting their opinion, it's not nonsense to them. Okay, so Genti, listen up today. Before we delve into the messages behind African spiritual practices, it's important for us to practice it. It's important for us to pay attention to our, you know what, Dibia Yudi, what makes you who you are is not how well, it's not how well you're good at, expressing other people's way of life.
Yeah.
That's not, and that's not to say, I mean, we understand it's a global world, There's a song when we were children, you probably, at that time, it didn't probably have this meaning, but to you,
we were young.
It was a song the kids were singing. But the more I investigated that song, I said, this is what he said. That song says, "Enyom dele ye hayam, enyom diribo pao hayam." Do you know what that is saying? Where is the mirror to who I am? Who am I? My mirror is no longer with me. It's in someone else's hands. Or diribo pa. Enyom dele. Where's the mirror that I use to identify who I am, to gauge who I am, what I should be doing? You see? So it's so important that we understand the relevance of, the times are changing, UD. Africans are changing drastically.
Waking up.
They're waking up enough.
The wool is being pulled off.
Yes. We must begin the process, and spirituality is a part of it. We have to reclaim our spiritual identity, even it's in all its diversity. It's ours.
It's an important.
It's important. I'm not concerned about what else you believe in. I'm just concerned that you need to gain the true knowledge of who you are, foster your community, and promote a holistic well-being. There's nothing holistic about delving into someone else's cultural vineyard and begging to be accepted in it.
I mean, can you imagine that? Not accepted.
You know what I'm saying? When we look at ourselves, when we embrace our spirituality, we are encouraged to have a deeper understanding of ourselves and the interconnectedness of life from our own perspective. It is very essential, UD, for personal and collective growth. There is nothing wrong with wanting to know who you are, because for too long, we have bowed, we have cowed, we have begged to be accepted into something that's foreign to us.
I'm still not accepted to today.
We are still not accepted. And I'm not here to say that this way is wrong, that way is wrong. My question is, Gente, Enola, do you know about your own? There's nothing prideful.
Yeah, almost a book.
You cannot be bragging how much foreign things you've got, and you don't have anything that directs your collective growth, your own personal and collective growth from your own enyo. Like the song I said, enyom dele, enyom dele boba. Enyom dele boba. When I look in the mirror, I can't see myself anymore, because that mirror is not mine anymore. It's gone somewhere else.
The reflection you see is not you.
It's the reflection you see is
telling two different stories. The slave.
That's right.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So, for those who understand Igbo, it is extremely important that when we talk about our African spirituality, we understand why. We're not trying to undermine other people. We're just trying to get a perspective on our cultural identity. The elders will ask you, whose child are you? Whose child are you? Who are your ancestors? Why are you acting like this? Why are you acting like you don't know who you are? Why are you acting? Why are you dressed in the middle of the heat of the African sun in warm clothing? Why are you acting the way you act? Onyara, akola. You know, I say Onyara.
I remember that song.
You know, Onyara, you know, if you give him something to wear, he'll wear a thick outfit in the sun. You know, what do you call such a person? Akola, Onyishara, a person who doesn't have it together. So it's our responsibility. It's so critical that we begin this connection, engaging with these practices. There are so many of them, but they're beautiful. We don't have to just have one different, cultural principles. You know, we can spiritually, we should certainly be under the umbrella of Chiism, which is all encompassing. But engaging in our African spiritual practices helps us to reconnect with our cultural heritage. And for the most part, and for our children, it gives them a sense of identity, a sense of belonging. It encourages pride in one's roots and traditions. And I am so happy Africa is waking up, finally.
Yeah.
Asi Nikechukwu, Alikali Gebili, Nikechukwu, Alikali Gebili, Alikali Gebili, Alikali Gadi. By the grace of Chineke, the struggling shall rise. We're rising. Hey,
yeah, we are.
We're rising. We're rising in every corner. We're rising. We're rising. Yeah. Then I'll turn over to you in a few. The true knowledge, our spirituality offers us true knowledge because it emphasizes self-knowledge and understanding more. What is our place in the universe? What is our place in the universe? Who are we? In all this whole universe, human beings are not the only creation of Chineke. There are others. There are things we don't even know. But who are you? Given what we do know, Ibonye, who are you? Are you having are you taking the responsibility to define yourself and not allow other people to do it for you? Do you tap into the ancestors, the great-grandmothers, the great-grandfathers? Their knowledge is still accessible to us through the power of our spirit. But we need to understand that and claim it. We are the only people will come to our house and sell us something they just stole from us. It is imperative that we start acknowledging what is ours, protect it, and flaunt it. You flaunt it.
You have to.
Flaunt.
You have to. Everybody else is flaunting theirs.
That's right. Because once we know who we are, once we understand the power of Chineke, the power of the Most High in us, right where I am, right where you are, it contrasts with the external narratives that may have been imposed, obviously, during colonial times, So it's imperative when we talk about African spirituality. Somebody said to me, well, there's no African spirituality. Well, I'm African, and the experiences I'm sharing are African people. That is from African people. That is our spirituality. So though it's diverse, it's coming from the minds and the hearts of the African people. So don't tell me, that all the religions have their own. All the communities have their own traditional religions, but when it comes to why is it whenever it comes to our own things, that there's somebody wants to argue. Somebody always wanting to argue.
Yep.
So anyway, when we start to embrace Chineke, the original way, the cultural way, the indigenous way, we can reclaim our narratives and perspectives, because this is what serves us. This is what our ancestors did. This is, Chineke didn't make any mistake creating us. I don't think so. Anyway, for that matter, we gave the rest of the world life. If humanity and civilization began from us, that means they learned about spirituality from us too. So why are we now borrowing from someone else. Yes, it's a global world. It's a global world. You can take from here and take from there and add to your, that's why you say add to your repertoire. You don't throw yours away and then sing and dance to someone else's music when yours is, you got a library full of your own music, but you don't touch it. But you take one little song from somebody else and you play it for eternity, and then the wall of music you've got in your library never gets played because you never present it. So that's why it's so important that we start to look into what belongs to us. And UD, most importantly, I believe, is the community and connection. The community and connection. You know, when you go home, when during New Year festival, you know, it doesn't matter what the people's religions are, everybody comes to celebrate. They celebrate their spirituality because you know what? They said the chicken will always come home. The chicken will always come home. When it's time to tell the truth, when it's time to connect, we connect. We connect through our dance, our music, our cultural expressions, because that's who we are. We can never get rid of it. We can never get rid of it, even though we're being encouraged to do so. To some degree, we've done it, which is unfortunate. But our gatherings, all our rituals, they strengthen our social bonds, and it helps us to foster our sense of community. You know, UD, I feel that such interconnectedness helps with personal growth and collective growth. When I think about going home to Nigeria to visit, I don't think about anything other than the cultural things that I'm going to experience. Don't you usually?
No, it's true. That's why you travel.
Yes, you want to go and see your people in their most honest state of being, their natural state.
But we miss it here. We miss it.
I love going to Nkporo. I like to go to Nkporo and go and see our people. I like to go and see all those festivals. They are so meaningful. They are so enriching. They touch your soul. They touch your heart. They are you. That's who you are. And nobody can take that from you. And that's why it's so important. I just want us to talk about this before we go into the main discussion today. And most importantly, resilience. Knowing our spirituality helps us to be resilient against indoctrination. You can't indoctrinate my children because they were taught Chiism, Godian religion. Their grandfather, their grandmother, everybody taught their father, their mother, everybody taught them. You're their uncle, aunties, everybody taught them about not allowing themselves to be indoctrinated. So by studying and understanding indigenous spiritual systems, our spiritual systems, we recognize and challenge that indoctrination that may have occurred through the colonial times. It hasn't stopped. The colonial education and religious systems that are still rampant in Africa, they're still there. But we need to empower people to think critically about their beliefs and their values. And last but not least, and then UD, you can jump in here and share your thoughts about what I just covered. Environmental awareness. UD, when we were children, remember when you go into the communities, people were very aware environmental.
Yep.
They had environmental awareness. That's why they can, you see in the mornings, very early in the morning, they are sweeping. They are sweeping the grounds.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yes, they are sweeping.
It's almost like you couldn't wait to wake up to that.
Yes, you couldn't wait. You just absolutely couldn't wait to wake up to that. And they're singing and all of that, you can't beat that. You can't beat that. And that's why it's so important that we reconsider what we're doing. I'm not saying, like I said, or I always say it, the world is an open space. There are many, many different cultures, So these practices are okay, but so is ours. So because our goal is a greater awareness of ecological issues and inspire sustainable living. That's why when you see them sweeping and cleaning. They understand that they owe it to nature to keep their environment clean, but they don't do that anymore, you know. So we need to go back to that. So Yudi, on that note, I want you to step in and give me your thoughts.
I'll tell you what, if we had heard this lecture that you just gave now when we were kids as Africans, not me and you, but everybody else, because you and I are very grounded in who and what we are. We accept it wholeheartedly because we know it's divine and God doesn't make mistakes. We understand that because we were raised to understand that. Unfortunately, a lot of our brothers and sisters didn't get that opportunity. We didn't get the opportunity that our mom and dad gave us, you know, to be grounded in our culture and say, I am what I am by the grace of God, and defend it. And if you don't like it, let the doorknob, you know what's going to happen when the doorknob hits you, right? Africans globally are walking around in the desert expecting rain when you could just go to the jungle or any place where you got forests and all that stuff and tall trees and everything else that you know, in the tropics where it rains all the time. So there's no point going to the Sahara Desert and then waiting for rain. That's what we do as black folks. I remember growing up, the most popular person in my life beyond my parents and my siblings was Jesus Christ. I heard more about Jesus Christ than I heard about Kwame Nkrumah. I heard more about Jesus Christ than I heard about Marcus Garvey. I heard more about Jesus Christ than I heard about Martin Luther King. As a matter of fact, I barely knew who the heck Martin Luther King was till I came to the United States. That's just how terrible it is getting information that has to do with leaders that are trying to free us from this mental slavery. Yeah, the chains are off here, but you know, up here, it's still there. Stockholm syndrome. Justifying our worth by standards that are not of our own choosing. Not understanding how we got Jesus Christ and Muhammad in the first place. No idea about slavery at all. I just never really learned about slavery until I came to the United States and what I heard from my dad. It wasn't really taught in school. As a matter of fact, in Nigeria right now, history is not a valid subject because the leadership don't want you to know about like the Civil War or get any kind of information that allows you to think freely for the first time. We're like zombies in the Black community. We praise everybody else's ancestors other than ours, and we hardly know any ancestor. I mean, let's be honest. The only Black people we know are really folks that were made popular by white folks and turned around and taught us that same history that we should have taught ourselves or that we should have been privy of. I mean, you hear about Martin Luther King, you hear about all those people, but who is really writing about them? White folks. We ain't talking about them a lot in our classrooms. Those kinds of discourse was so alien and pushed away from regular folks that you felt a level of disconnection, but not understanding that what you're disconnecting from is actually what is trying to help you, trying to pull you up from the mud, from the dust you up and bring you back to prominence. If you don't know yourself, you can't know. If you don't know where you've been, you can't know where you're going. If you don't have a record of how you got here, if the educational system that pervades our community is not teaching us about Ifenta and Ada, at least in Chiism, that's our version of the first man and first woman. And yes, the first man and first woman didn't write a book and pass on whatever it is that they may have learned. But as spiritual human beings, we try to have an explanation of how we got here. Who was the first person? This is a question that has occupied the mind of both intellectuals and scientists, and even regular folks. Even the caveman wondering, how did I get here? So every culture, based on your experience, have their own version of how they got here. Hinduism has its own version. So does Buddhism. So does Christianity with its Adam and Eve. Islam is about Adam and Eve too. So is Judaism. But let's all keep in mind that Adam never told anybody how he got here. Neither did he friend Adam. It's all in our imagination. And that's what we have to understand. Religion and God and creation, even though we see evidence around us that something exists, but the idea of Ifenta and Adam and Eve and all that, it's all in our imagination for a purpose. This imagination might be geared towards making sure that we coexist with one another. So religion and spirituality and your conscience and accountability all plays a role in controlling human behavior. Welcome to religion. Spirituality is about how you live that religious awareness. I mean, what is the etymology of religion? The etymology of religion is simple. A duty that a person feels compelled to perform in reverence to something greater than themselves, and that something is the Almighty Creator, because our ancestors realized that the air they breathe, the food they eat, the animals they hunt, the land they're standing on, famine, the sky, the rain, they didn't create all that. And they ascribed it to a higher power, and that higher power is the Creator, is Yahweh, is Chineke, is Jehovah, is Ubangiji, is Tamuna, is Vuzulele, is Nkulunkulu, is Jiami, is God in many names, is Allah. Whatever God is called in your language, because we all don't speak, I mean, everybody don't speak French. We all don't speak Yoruba. I don't speak Tasmanian. Neither do I speak Mayan or German. I speak the colonizers' language in Africa, which is English, French, and a bit of Portuguese. That's it. In our school system, in everything that we do, in the books that we read, there is no book on physics that I know written in any African language. There's no book I know in chemistry written in African language, or in math written in African language. Everything is written in English. Our colonizers making our language irrelevant when it comes to academic discourse or knowledge. We ascribe foreign things as better than things that are African. But when you strip away the basic idea behind these things, it's different, and in some cases more advanced in Africa, because after all, humanity came from there. All the knowledge that we have in the world came from Africa. Even till today, and in ancient times, people were doing brain surgery in Africa without anesthetics, putting you to sleep, just local anesthetics. While the guy is sitting over there talking about whatever he's talking about with his friends, he's getting his brain operated on. Go to YouTube, the videos are there. I'm not making this stuff up. We have people that make rain just like everybody else. In the end, it's all about science. Europeans who don't understand anything about Africa calls it voodoo, not understanding what voodoo means. Voodoo is just voodoo. Voodoo is a corrupt word for voodoo. In Igbo language, it's Ani, Mother Earth. The Togolese and Dahimians were not worshiping anything. It was reverence. They revered things that keep them alive. There's a difference between worshiping and reverence. The only thing the African worships is the Creator, the ultimate powerful spirit that we ascribe everything living and dead to this Creator. I just want to not digress, but just shift a little bit. Something I talked about and I think is very important to talk about it. Most people that believe in the Creator believe that the Creator created everything, good or bad, dead or alive, all serving a divine purpose. The igneous rock that comes out of the volcanic mountain as lava and then cools down to become an igneous rock. It's all part of creation. God's hand is in it. Everything that you see, even the floods, the devastation, the famine, the wars, the murder, the killing, the lying, the everything. If you believe that Chineke, God created everything, then you must accept the fact that everything that exists, good or bad, exists for a purpose. It's divine, as painful as it is when it affects you individually. But if you don't believe that God created, if you don't believe that things that negatively impact your life has a divine purpose, then you don't believe in God. Because everything about God ain't all ice cream and candy bars. Death is also part of it, isn't it? We fight wars. What does it result in? Death. You get a disease. What does it result in? Death. Somebody piss you off and you go into a fight. It might result in what? Death. In the end, ultimately, everything results in dying. Plants, animal, birds, even worlds. Mars, I guarantee you, billions of years ago, used to sustain some kind of life. Not anymore. So even worlds die. Why? If every human being, every animal, every tree, every bacteria, every virus, every parasite, if nothing died, because biblically they're not supposed to until Adam and Eve ate the apple. So let's assume that Adam and Eve didn't eat that apple. Where will you house all the diseases that will still exist? All the parasites that will be living? All the human beings that will still be alive? All the animals, all the lions and tigers and snakes and pythons and sharks and flies. Oh, Lord, help us with the flies. Can you imagine if God did not intend for things to die? Where would you put them? We would be living in the ocean because there's just not enough real estate. Death is divine, it's part of it. You just want to live a long and productive life and make sure that you add to the continuation of humanity by having a family, having children, and raising them in an environment that is loving, that has information pertaining to their history, to who they are, to their contributions to civilized behavior, so that people of, people of African ancestry can stop walking around in the world and acting like they never contributed anything. While we know that 75% of all discoveries, science and otherwise, were by Black folks. From your cure, from your vaccinations, to your elevators, to the asphalt, to cars, to the locomotive engine, to the light bulb, you name it, to GPS, to going to the moon. If it wasn't for 3 ladies, there were really 5 of them that did all the calculations that made it possible for the astronauts to go into space and come back safely. If it wasn't for Black folks, you would not be competing with Russia when it comes to space travel. So for those people that don't recognize what we've contributed to civilized behavior, that think that all we are beggars, borrowers, followers, you're wrong. The only reason why we think that about ourselves, and the only reason why the world thinks that about us, is because the world wrote that about us and then taught us that. And then we assimilated it. And then Stockholm Syndrome became prevalent in our society, in Jamaica, in Haiti, in the Bahamas, in Nigeria, in Sierra Leone, in South Africa, the African American, the British Black, and the Chinese Black, and wherever Blackness is. You've been deceived, lied to. You need to write your own books about science. You need to talk about your own history. Okay? You need to look at yourself as, what do you say?
I said, say it again.
We need to start telling our own story. The world is changing. Africa is waking up. Nobody is feeling bad anymore about standing up and saying, I am what I am. By the grace of God, I have a right to exist. I have a right to be me. You have a right to be you. You've been shoving your stuff in my face. It's time for me to say that all the stuff that you've shoved in my face is not working for me. It's never worked for me. It's kept me enslaved. And it's time for us all to rise up.
Yes, we go.
And claim a rightful place in the universe, because even the European now understands that the African has a right to exist just like they do.
Just like he say, Ashe, you know, waking up is a good thing. You know, I say, when you wake up is your morning.
It is what it is.
The power, love, and self-discipline is what's in need. We need now, and we have to claim it because it's there. Chineke gave it to us, and we were not born to be timid. We need to stop being timid. And where the power lies is the mind.
Yeah.
The power lies in the mind. Once you waken up the mind, the world respects you when you start saying, whoa. Not anymore. Yeah. Not anymore. And when you let me tell you something. I can tell you that Africa becoming powerful economically and all of that is all fine and dandy. But when you're spiritually still enslaved, you're not free. It's not about the money.
And that's the first rise up. Yeah, it's the first one.
That's the first. If we got to rise, we also must rise spiritually. Yeah. And I'm saying, we're not saying to disrespect other people's way of life. We're just saying embrace yours. Embrace yours. So we're going to talk about Dibia Yudi. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that presentation or response to my presentation. I appreciate that. Our discussion today, and I would like to thank all of you who are here. DOCC, Sovereign, Akachineke. I just got a call from what's his name? He didn't realize that we had a show today. This is Charles Ikuna. And so he didn't charge his phone, and there's no electricity where he is.
Oh man,
you know, how sad is that? So but he's going to try and find some way to charge it. I told him, you know, do the best you can. And Dibia Dozier is not with us today because Dibia is at an event where a member of his faculty is getting a chieftaincy title. So he is expected to be there. So much luck to him. And certainly we are very happy for him getting his chieftaincy. And I hope getting that chieftaincy means that he's going to apply it for the good, and offer fortitude for the community, and not just have a title. We're supposed to. My title is Ogeli, voice. Voice. I'm trying to use my voice. I can't sit on my
the original or
There you go. There you go. And that's the bottom line. So I wish them well. The topic of our discussion is the importance of the soul in African spirituality. There is soul, then there is Obi. Obi is your heart. The soul is your connection to the ancestors and to Chineke. And it's well celebrated when a child is born. You know, when a child is born, it has a whole lot more meaning than what is the gender of the child. You see a lot of the gender reveals, which are beautiful. I love them. I love to watch them. But in our culture, the birth of a child is the uplifting of the community. It's a connection to the ancestors. It's a connection to Chineke. It's an addition to the community. So it's so celebrated. It's such a big deal. And so the soul, let me talk about the soul at birth. The birth of a child is so significant because it's not a matter of just a child being born. You know, like I said earlier, it is significant because of what it represents to the community as a connection between the spirit world and the ancestors. That means that community is growing. That means that we are growing. We're not dying. The elders are leaving the earth and either becoming ancestors or they're continuing their journey, but they have to be replaced. And some of those new people who are coming into this world are considered reincarnates of the ancestors. So they're coming back into this world to continue the journey. So what a celebration it is. So you have lots of ceremonies to emphasize the significance of the birth of this child to the community. So every child is important, and we make such a big deal. So I will talk a little bit about the Akan. The Akan, we do the same thing, but I'm going to talk about the Akan because I have a little video that I want to share. Their naming ceremony they perform something that's called, you want to look it up, it's called Nkinyan Kim. I'm hoping I'm saying it properly, Nkinyan Kim, which occurs shortly after a child is born. Okay, it is a ritual that is so significant because it is believed that this child's soul, moya, we say more, has entered the body, and giving the child a name is crucial for the identity and purpose. So the soul has just been created. When this person comes into the world, that soul is now coming out with that child into the community. So it's important for us to do the right thing by this child. It is crucial that we give them the necessary identity that will carry them through their lifetime. So you don't disrespect them more, the soul of the child that has come in. It's very important that you give it the right name and lead it correctly, because that is our connection to our ancestors. An ancestor has come home. An ancestor has returned. And we're connected through this, the soul of this child, to the great Chineke and certainly our ancestors. So what is the significance? Again, it does highlight the belief that their names, the names that we give our children, carry spiritual power. Okay, and that connection to their ancestors, to the ancestors, either the ones that have gone by, the ones that are yet to come. The child is either representing a new ancestor, or for the most part, representing a new ancestor that we have to honor, and we have to, this child is going to start over again. You know, when somebody passes on, you know, if they don't get to the age of 80, right, we say they're coming back. You know, they're reincarnated.
Reincarnation.
So that reincarnation. So thus the linking of the child's soul to the community, and we also have to teach the child the history of who they are. And that is what unfortunately is so missing, so lacking when our children come into this world. What is it we're doing? We're teaching them someone else's, you know, we're not even celebrating them. We're calling them all kinds of names. We're calling them Sunday. We're calling them Monday. We're calling them Friday. We're calling them Tuesday. We're calling them all kinds of stuff. But it is so significant that we give the child the right name, because that's the name that's going to help that child move forward. The name that I gave my grandson, Amoha. This is a source fountain for knowledge. He's supposed to provide knowledge to the community. Ikenna, my other grandson, the power of Chineke. They're supposed to guide these children. Nnamdi, my father lives through me. Emeka, Chineke, Emeka, God is powerful. Thank you, Chineke, for my life, for who I am. Every name you give a child is supposed to represent your expectations, your wish for their life. And to let the ancestors know that we're still connected. But all these crazy names that we give them, if you have an African name, give your child, find an African name that has power behind it, so that that child will follow the name. My full name is Uwa Anuakwa. I say Uwa, Uwa Anuakwa. Uwa means that the world does not listen to people who whine, people who cry. Go out there and make a difference. Stop whining. I don't whine. I try to make a difference. I'm not always successful, but I certainly try. You know, that's what my name, Udemezwe. My mother was very proud to have you, that you know, what a blessing that you are.
They needed another boy, because they got a lot of girls, and they needed another son.
You see, so Udemezwe, you know, I'm satisfied now. So the names should mean something. So if you're giving your child Friday, Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday, don't forget Sunday while you're at it.
You know what?
That has nothing.
They omitted Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday and Tuesday. Thursday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. What's up with that? We got Friday. Oh, Thursday on Saturday. We have Sunday, Monday, and Friday. I wonder why we don't have Saturday and Thursday, Wednesday, and Tuesday.
No, people. There are some people who name their children Wednesday.
Huh?
Yeah. Let's not talk about that. So, but there you go. But I want to share this video. It's just a few minutes, but I think it would, you know, it has to do with the naming ceremony of Ghana. And we have something similar in Igbo land. Okay, so I'm going to play it.
Naming ceremonies are significant events that mark the formal introduction of a newborn to the family and the community. The ceremony is rooted in the various ethnic traditions of Ghana, though the process and customs can differ slightly between groups such as the Ekan, Ga, and others. In this video we are going to outline the traditional process, particularly focusing on the Ekan. In Ekan communities, naming ceremony is known as outdooring because the baby is brought outdoors and introduced to the world. This typically happens on the 8th day after the child's birth, based on the belief that the child has fully transitioned from the spiritual to the physical realm. The ceremony takes place early in the morning at the family's home or a designated place where both immediate and extended family members gather. Elders or family heads, often the grandparents, lead the ceremony. Prayers are offered to the ancestors and deities for the child's protection, good health, and prosperity. Libation is poured as part of the spiritual invocation, connecting the baby to their lineage and the spiritual world. The baby is named according to the day of the week they were born. Ekan names are associated with days of birth. In addition to the day name, the child is given a family name, a name of historical significance, or a name that reflects the family's hopes and aspirations. The elder dips his finger in water and then alcohol, usually schnapps or palm wine, and touches the baby's lips with each. The elder symbolically says, "This is water, it is life," and "This is alcohol, it is bitter." This ritual is meant to teach the child the difference between truth and lies, good and evil. Relatives then present gifts to the child, usually in the form of clothes, money, or symbolic items that represent blessings. After the formal ceremony, there is a communal feast where family, friends, and community members celebrate with food, drinks, music, and dance. The key elements of the Ghanaian Ekan naming ceremony focuses on spiritual significance. The ceremony connects the child to both their ancestry and the spiritual world. Again, it focuses on symbolism. Water, alcohol, salt, and libation are common elements used to convey messages of truth, wisdom, and blessings. It also focuses on communal celebration. The event is a public affair involving not just the family but the community at large. Naming ceremonies in Ghana reflect the values of family, community, and spirituality. If you find this video insightful, like, comment, and subscribe. Let's keep the conversation ongoing in the comment below.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful?
Like home.
Can you imagine if wherever we as African people are, and I'm not saying that it's not happening. Of course it's happening. I'm talking about if we all collectively understood the importance of naming our children, the importance of the soul being nourished. Okay, once the child comes into this world, if we will make a big deal and take the time and really think about what we're naming this child, not just, and I don't want to insult anyone, so I'm not going to call out some of the really ridiculous names that we give our children, okay? But it is so important, and quite frankly, if you as an African American or as a diasporan African, okay, feels that you don't want to give your child an African name, that's okay. But at least make sure that the name that you're giving that child ties him to his ancestors. And it's meaningful. And it's not just an English name, just so the child will have a name. Some people will say, I'm not an African. I'll give myself an English name. Really? Okay. If you choose to do that, just make sure that it's a meaningful name that you're giving the child. Okay. So now the child has been born, and there's much ceremony and excitement about the child's. The soul has been introduced to the community. The community has named the child. And expectations are being heaped on that child based on the name given to it. But you don't give the child the name and then expect them to achieve the expectations of that name You have to guide that child. The mother has to be present. The father has to be present. Where the mother is not present, then the family takes over. Where the family is, when the father is not able to, is not available, then the community, the family. It takes a village. That's African culture. It takes a village to raise a child. Don't have expectations for a child that you're not willing to be there to guide. Huh? You cannot just give a name. You can't just say, okay, we've done a ceremony. Okay, now, kid, go on out there and live up to that expectation. No. We, as a collective, and it used to be a time, Dibia, it used to be a time when I saw a little child doing something, the mother doesn't have to be there, the father doesn't have to be there. I will correct that child. And I will let that child know, you don't act like that. Whose child are you? If your parents are not here, they're expecting you to act a certain way. We used to do that. But now, you have some parents that are screaming, don't talk to my child that way. That is not African culture. Our role is not to put your child down. Our role is to make sure that your child is on the right path. If you're not there, that's why they say it takes a village to raise a child. So now the child is here and is living now. So what do we teach the soul? What do we teach the child? Let's take the philosophy in Southern Africa. Many of you are familiar with the Ubuntu. I was glad to read all this stuff. Ubuntu, the concept of Ubuntu, UD, is I am because we are. Listen, now some people have it twisted. People say is I am because of you, you are because of me, and because of because I am because of you, and you are because of me, and without you, I'm nothing at all. The simple meaning is I am because we are. Anyincha bụ nwanne. I am because because we are. We are in this together.
Yeah.
In other words, we want to let that child, that soul that has been welcomed into this world, understand that communal living is the expectation for their survival, interconnectedness. They're not on their own. So what happens to the soul is that this new soul that has been introduced, now thrives through the relationships and the social harmony that has been formed. They're not alone. I'm just the kind of person that I understand that everybody has. If somebody is struggling this way, then if you're not struggling, you have a responsibility to help. It is your responsibility to that child as a member of their community. You're feeding their soul. You want them to understand that we believe in communal living. We will work with you. We got your back. We love you just like your parents love you. We love you too because you're part of our community. So this is how the soul thrives in society, through social harmony, relationships that we set up. That's the important. So when you hear about Ubuntu, what is Ubuntu saying? It is a way to nurture the soul through the support of the community. We give kindness to this child that we brought into this world. We teach them to respect others. And we teach them that the individual well-being of that child is tied to the well-being of the collective, of the community. They're not here on their own. They're not here on their own. So when the child has been brought in, now the child has to live. You got to teach them. I see a lot of young people here who are confused. Nobody's teaching them. They're trying to navigate this life on their own. Their soul is not being enriched. Their souls are hardening. They become angry. They do illegal things. They don't honor human. Do you know, how we have become so desensitized when we see another human being hurting? We don't even intervene.
We pull the cell phones and start videotaping.
But the true essence of building the soul of the person that we've brought into this is to teach them how human life is interconnected. The person that you're watching die and you don't do anything, that person could be the person that will give you your meal ticket tomorrow. We're all interconnected. I was watching a video where a young child was drowning. All these adults are standing. She's drowning. Nobody wants to take the time to jump into the water to save them, to save her. But this older gentleman, he dove into the water. He could barely make it, but he dove into the water and he went and got that child. And only after he showed the community she's our responsibility, did they now all start jumping in to help. So that kind of mindset is what we want the soul of our children to develop. So they come from the womb, we bring them, we celebrate their coming. Now what? We have to ensure that they experience Ubuntu. And in my language, it's idinotu. Idinotu. Working together. Ubuntu. Now then, what happens though? Now you want to comment on that, and then I'll go to the next point I want to make. Just comment on what I've,
Yeah, you said plenty. I think one of the terrible things in our community is that we don't understand the reasoning behind naming. We think naming is just an identity thing. Ah, that's John right there. Yeah, that's it. Right? Yeah, he says stone, right? Names without meaning. It's a cat. It just describes what that being is, or what that thing is, or what the subject is, and that's it. It doesn't go back into why it's called the dog. Why is it called the cat? Heck, why am I called a man? You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Right? We don't go behind to find out reasoning behind a lot of stuff. And in today's world, at least for Black folks, we just do what the European tells us to do, what our colonial masters tells us to do. Mm-hmm. They tell us that if you have African names, it's going to identify you as an African, probably inferior. So for the Black man and woman to make themselves feel good about themselves, you got to change your name sometimes. I know some Nigerians that came from Nigeria to the U.S., and when he came in here, he changed his name to John Paul. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to be identified as an African because he thought that being an African didn't give him, a shot at doing something for himself, and that he has to sell himself out by changing his name.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. So if he loses his identity, at least on paper, without you seeing him, maybe you could get him a job interview or offer him a job interview. Then when he shows up there, you see he's Black, it's too late. You have to do that. You have Africans that go and change their skin, change the color.
Yeah. Particularly
the ladies. A couple of guys do that stuff. There's a famous baseball player here in America from San Salvador, not San Salvador, one of these islands in the Caribbean. He's a baseball player, professional, played for the Chicago team. And he went and bleached himself. He was dark like me. Next time I saw this dude, he was a mulatto. I'm like, what the? But that's that thing about you're less than because you're Black. And the idea behind naming, like you explained with that kind of thing, when in Igbo cosmogony, when Chineke created Ifenta and Ada, after they went through the whole litany of advices from Chineke and all that kind of stuff, and they got a better awareness of who and how they got here, they began populating the earth with descendants, and then, named descendants to the glory of Chineke. That's what we do in Africa. That's what we do in Igbo land. We give names to children to glorify the Creator, because without the Creator, we understand that we will not be here.
Yes.
For example, the first daughter, when you talk about Ifenta and Ada, the first man, Ifenta, the first woman, Ada, first daughter. Well, we call our children Ada. We have a cousin, her name is Ada, remember her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ada means first daughter, and is female. That's the gender. Then we have Amarachi, which is the grace of Chineke. If you notice, it's glorifying Chineke. Annie, Mother Earth. We had somebody who worked for us. His name is Annie. Remember him? Annie. Annie is Mother Earth. It's female. They're glorifying Chineke. That's naming. Chid. God is. It's male. They're glorifying. It's unisex too. A woman can answer Chidi. As a matter of fact, I knew somebody, a girl, her name is Chidi. Chidimma is also male and female. God is good, but usually it's given to females. Chidozie. God will keep me. It's male. Chibuka. God is mighty. Chinedum, Chinemeze, Chesara. God answers my prayer, so on and so forth. We name to glorify Chineke because we know, at least in our minds, we are convinced that without the spirit that created the air, the food, everything that keeps us alive, which creates religion in us, because of this awareness, that's what the etymology of religion is, just an awareness and the glorification of something greater than yourself, and that something is the Almighty Chineke. We glorify Chineke in Africa in naming conventions, and I'm sure in other cultures they do the same thing or glorify heroes. You could glorify a whole lot of stuff, but whatever you name your child is the soul of that child. That's how people are going to interpret that child, and sometimes that child may need to live up to that name. You know, you can't have a name like Chidimma and you're a serial killer.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's hoped that the name that you're given, your understanding of the meaning of your name will influence how you live your life.
Yes.
That's the idea behind it. Does it always work out that way? No, it doesn't. And the reason why is we're just biology. We're not perfect creatures. We're not. And we cannot control divine intervention. What do I mean by divine intervention? You cannot control getting shot. You can't control getting swallowed up if the super volcano right here in the national park in the United States, I don't mean to scare anybody, but it goes off about every 600 to 700,000, 640 years. It's been 670 years. All the animals have gone from Yosemite. You can't find an insect over there flying around. I mean, any land animal, unless something that is flying around. It's gotten too hot. There's so much lava in there. If it blows, or when it blows, California will be in the ocean. The eastern part of the United States will cease to exist within 1 year. There will be so much ash up there that when it comes down, it's going to have at least 20 feet of ash on everything to the east of the US. And if you do survive the crushing weight of the ash, then you're going to starve to death anyway, because there will be no land for you to farm. But guess what? They're all divine interventions. Is it going to hurt you? Yes, it will. Will you disappear? You probably will. But guess what? It's nature. And nature is Chineke. Accept it.
Yes. I wanted to, take this opportunity to just say something very quickly. I gave my oldest girl Adora. Adora means a child who's a daughter, a precious daughter, loved by all.
Ada,
Ada, the first name of Ifenta and Adam. So she was Adam, but loved by all.
Yep.
Okay. What the intention for her is to remember that she belongs to the community.
Exactly.
And she must do right by the community.
Yes,
and the community will have her back.
Yep.
And then my second daughter, Kelena, to give thanks, praises to the Most High for this blessing that she is. And then she needs to remember that she is a blessing and never forget that, And of course, my son, Namdi, my father lives through me. My father could be my dad or the creator, Chi, the creator, So anyway, we thank you for that contribution, Yudi. Now, the soul, what happens to the soul at death? I want to take the Maasai, their funeral rites. Now, I think some of the funerals that you experience now in Africa has gotten so crazy. It doesn't have anything to do with the culture of the people. It's just more flamboyant. You know, it has to be flamboyant. We have to show how rich you are. You know, it's now being used to flaunt the wealth of the person who passed away. And if the family of the person doesn't have much money, they bury the person right the day they die. They don't want anybody to know they don't have money. You know, pardon me, pardon me. And that is not what it's about. When the soul at death, let's just take, for instance, the Maasai. You know, they're not burying them in Mercedes Benzes. They're not burying them in fancy things. They're doing funeral rites. You know, this is the Kenyans and Tanzania. Pardon me. It's at the Maasai, you know, when they have elaborate funeral rites involving the whole community. Okay, they involve the community. The body is treated with respect, and the rituals that they perform is to ensure that that person's soul has a safe passage to the afterlife. Safe passage to the afterlife. It's not about putting them in a Mercedes Benz or putting big diamonds and all that sort of thing. That is not what's significant, because quite frankly, the grave diggers will come and dig all that stuff, you know, and you don't even know. You think that your person is 6 feet under with all the glamour things that you put them. The grave diggers, some of them, not all of them, certainly. Let's not get upset. You know, if you're a grave digger, don't get excited. But the point of the matter being that some of them already know all that good stuff you put in there, and they come and they take it. But the importance of giving the person a ritual, you know, to ensure the soul's safe passage to the afterworld is what's significant to the Maasai. Okay, that's what the funeral rites all about. It's not to showcase how rich the person is, but for the community, all right, to ensure the safe passage of the soul, you know, to the afterlife, you know. So it underscores the belief in an ongoing relationship with the deceased, not with the wealth of the deceased, but the soul of the deceased. Okay, ongoing relationship. You know, the community's participation, you know, it shows that interconnectedness of life and death, we the living and the person who's passed on. You know, we want to show the soul that it continues to influence the community. It exists in our minds, you know, and continues to influence the living. So we are giving them a send off into the afterlife, but with the understanding for the collective to know that this person may have journeyed on, but they still live, their soul still lives. You know, it still lives, and we will continue to have them influence the living, you see. So these are some of the practices that we don't know. Many of us don't know why certain rituals are conducted when people pass away. And we have gotten so away from our cultural traditions that we're now doing whatever anybody does out there to show how rich the person is, you know, how wealthy the person is, you know, and how expensive the coffin is, what the expensive clothing that they have on. All that's nice if that's your emphasis, but just don't forget what the purpose is. You have to wish the soul, you know, clear passage to the underworld, okay, to the afterlife, and don't forget them. You know, it's sad when you go to some of the graveyards and you see that nobody's, you know, the weeds have overtaken the headstones and all of that, and nobody goes to, you know, because the person, they think, oh, the person is gone, is dead, you know, and so we move on with our lives. Certainly there are some people who do take the time and go and, you know, to continue to show that that person is still important to them. But there are many whose graveyards have just been grown over with weeds, because we don't, you know, many of us don't understand the importance. So that's what happens to the soul when the soul now You know, I talked about the fact when the soul comes, when the child is born, the soul is being welcomed into the community, into society. And well, we celebrate that welcoming, you know. But then as the child is growing, it becomes our responsibility to teach them about the importance of collective work, collective living, you know, so that they act accordingly. They act in the interest of the community, and the community does the same thing. But then we don't live forever. Then we have the death. When the person passes on, doesn't mean that that person is necessarily gone. In our minds, in our hearts, you know, we continue to nurture that person, and by sending them off, sending them away, and continue to understand that they're still with us. That's still with us. That's why when we pour libations, we always call out the names of those who have gone on. We're not worshiping them. It's a reminder that they existed and that we still remember them, and we will continue to remember them, you know, because they're, you know, with all the rituals that we do, we also have become connected to that person. That's the beauty of African spirituality, which unfortunately much of that is gone, you know. So that's that. And then the other, do you want to make any comments on that?
Yeah, it's just so many things to kind of touch on, but I'll try to be as brief as I possibly can, if that's even possible. Some things you said just kind of brought some stuff to my mind. Nkomi, you know me, I'm always in this deep involvement. And it has to do with the naming thing. And not the naming thing, but the burial. And, you know, people getting buried with money and get buried with all that stuff and getting this idea about your final rituals and what it's supposed to be for your own ego and make it look good in front of other people so they can talk about you and say, oh, he was buried in a Rolls Royce. That's why you did it. But the reason why it has nothing to do with anything other than your ego that you're taking to the grave with you and hoping that your ego will continue to bother the rest of us after you're gone. So every day I come in there, I walk past your grave, I look at it and go, I can't believe that idiot got a Rolls Royce buried in there. For what? Anyway, Genghis Khan was known as the greatest land conqueror. And his empire stretched all the way from Mongolia to Eastern Europe to Gaul, believe it or not. And the thing about having the largest land empire, even greater than the British, who have the second largest, then the French, right? Genghis never convinced anybody to do what Mongolians do. He just wanted resources on your land and territory. And if you didn't give it up, he killed everybody. Men, women, and children will pile up human skulls up to, believe it or not, 100 feet. And you'll have them lined up.
Oh my goodness.
So that his enemies or perceived enemies can see that. So next time he tells you, I'm coming to take your stuff, you will hand it over. Because if you don't, I'm going to pile your city just like I piled the last one. And there'll be 300,000 skulls up in there making up a mountain. That's Genghis Khan. But nobody in Gaul, no German, nobody in Turkestan or Afghanistan ever went by a Mongolian or Chinese name, ever changed their name, ever practiced anything Chinese or Mongolian. But us that were enslaved and colonized, forcefully, murder, rape, sodomizing people, castrations, blinding people, and convinced you to change your name through forced coercion from Kunta Kinte to Toby. And since then, you've been Toby. You forgot about Kunta Kinte. We do what we do. We bury ourselves in our Rolls Royces, in diamonds, in chains, and everything else that we think is going to add to our ego trip. Because we're emulating Western way of thinking that tells you that flash is it. That doesn't deal with anything with the afterlife. You know, in Igbo culture, death is not the end, as you rightly mentioned. It's a transition to the ancestral realm, right? Known as what do we call Alamo. The soul or more is believed to be eternal and departs the body once you die. And then it goes on this journey, influenced by your physical state, into a post-death ritual. And then these rituals varying by community. We honor the deceased, and of course, the guy who buries himself in the Rolls Royce is honoring himself, but doing his Western version of the same kind of post-death rituals that we do in Africa. With, all the rituals you do, you bury people depending on their status. You can bury them with goat, you can bury them with nama, cattle, whatever you find that is going to add to, how they live their life or their importance in the society. And then you go through these rituals, which varies from community, and it guides the soul towards the ancestors and reincarnation. Life is about, for us in Igbo land, Igbo culture, Igbo spirituality, and Chiism, life is about coming and going.
Yes.
It's just a cycle, because we believe that the soul, the more, is eternal in its essence and is distinct from your physical body. So the spirit doesn't die. And that's why we have this reincarnation as part of our spirituality. Because if the soul doesn't die, it has to go somewhere, right? Now, where does it go after death? Nowhere. So it returns back to us. And we have some evidence on the spiritual level, like we told our story right here on the show, where my uncle Gideon, on my mom's side, my mom's uncle died. And how did he die? He was farming and a pickaxe went right into his knee, his right knee. And he developed gangrene and he killed him, back in them days, man. You know what I'm saying? Like in the freaking 30s and, whatever. There's no, medical stuff for Africans. It just was almost non-existent. It was our tradition. So it was really bad, but it killed him. And then here I am, my mom's son, Udemezwo. I am born with a birthmark in the same spot where the stuff went into my dead granduncle's knee and killed him.
And you look like him.
And I look like, and I walk like him. And I got this scar.
You have his mannerisms, when you're always doing your
so they started calling me Degid. Right? You remember? Uncle Gideon. Even my mom calls me that sometimes. So in my soul, I took that on. And it made me feel like I used to be dead, but I'm back.
Yes. Because he wasn't 80 when he passed away.
He wasn't 80.
On the journey.
So I look at myself as a reincarnation of Degid, because they told me that when I was born.
Yes.
All on mom's side, every single, you remember the 5 aunties we had in Odumai? All of them. Everybody. From Edochie to Chinua, all of them, Atalachi, Degid. That's who I am. So, and the stories I hear about him, how strong he was and all that kind of stuff, it made me feel like I was almost invincible. And my history in Nigeria, nobody could beat me. You know that. It didn't matter how big you were. You could weigh 300 pounds, 6'8". It didn't matter to you, Dion, you have 5'10", 180 pounds. I will beat you and whoop you and defeat you. I just had that in my psyche. So the point I'm making is death is not the end in Igbo spirituality. And in our naming conventions, we try to represent the glory of Chineke. And one more thing I want to bring out, and I don't know if I know you know about this. We just never talked about it on this show, but I want to bring something out to you. We have something called, what do you call it? It's called the, I can't remember the name of it. The 7 glorious lights from Chineke. The purgative lights. The purgative light, you know what it is? It's a rainbow. The graces of Chineke is a rainbow. The rainbow is part of Igbo traditional ontology. Starting with the Godhead. Then
the sun.
Which is the sun. Then Ofonogu. Then Agunsi, then Kamalo, then Ani, then Ekuroche Imomini, then Fijoko, And at the bottom of it is the ancestors, where after the age of 80, in Christian parlance, what do you call it? Heaven.
Mm.
You have you are now with the ancestors,
Mm-hmm.
the land of the ancestors.
You're now an ancestor, and now you have you're charged with the responsibility of, looking out
Guiding the living.
guiding the living. Yeah.
Guiding the living, because when you refer to the ancestors, you're looking for them to guide you in decisions, in situations. How do you say, what's the word for it? It's like you consult the ancestors. It's like consulting an oracle, right?
Yes.
Every nation has an ancestor. So when you hear the word ancestor, don't think it's something that is negative, because even George Washington is an ancestor to the American over here.
Mm. And Dibia,
Yeah.
I practice that in my home. I certainly know the connection. And then when I look at my children to see who they reincarnated as, and then when we pour libations, we call out the names of those ancestors that we believe that they are, they reincarnated.
Yeah, like my son.
Yeah, that's right.
My son thinks that, I named him after my brother because I thought he's a reincarnation of it. And not only that, because of him feeling like his uncle and me telling him what his uncle was like, Emeka actually lives like his uncle, very spiritual, kind and nice young man.
Yes.
Very, 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 accommodating in terms of understanding stuff, and just a great son, man.
But you know what, and I tell you all this. My favorite nephew. He's just as sweet as he wants to be.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, if we look at all African cultures, all the different ones, I just talked about a few. Even if you look at the Yoruba, Ifa religion, and the reason why I'm calling out all of these different cultures who are African is to remind you that Shiism is all encompassing. It's an umbrella.
Yeah, it's universal
all African, and as a matter of fact, all traditional religions. They all represent the people's culture. And they must be respected. We want ours respected, but we don't. We don't want other traditional religions to feel that they don't, their processes.
But you're right. That's the reason behind Shiism in the first place.
That's it. We are all interconnected. If you look at the ancestral programs that the Yorubas have established in the Ifa religion, they believe also that the souls of the ancestors are present and also active in the lives of their descendants, just like we do. So we do have those connections, and then obviously they give offerings to the ancestors and rituals and made to honor them and showing guidance and protection. And this is so important. It's so important that we are connected. We understand why we are connected to the ancestors. They don't. The soul continues to be with us. And work with us, and we can call upon their energies. Some of their experiences, we can call upon them, to guide what we're doing. Now all the Europeans and whomsoever that don't understand, and to be fair, some of them have taken the time to learn and understand the African spiritual way of life. Some of them have not and have ridiculed it. But the fact that some people ridicule it doesn't mean you have to believe in the ridicule. You have to do your own research. And I always say to people, find an African spiritual way of life that's comfortable for you and go with it. You don't have to be a part of all of it. Just because Africans are not a part of all the religious practices. They're part of which one that is a part of their existence, a part of their culture. So you too, if you're a diasporan and you want to be connected to African spirituality, find one that is, suits your spirit, makes you feel good to practice it, but it's under the umbrella of Shiism, because we encourage different cultures to express themselves, in the way they understand best spiritually. So for the Yorubas, and certainly for us, this connection to the afterlife helps us to emphasize the belief that the soul does not simply vanish. It continues to play a role in our lives, and that's the way that that, like Ahain would say, just make noise for me. Make noise for me. Making noise for me is not just for the funeral. Make noise for me while I'm no longer here. Speak about me. When you pour libations and call my name. Speak, make noise for me. Let me continue to be a part of your lives, So it reinforces I believe in the soul still lingering around, and reinforces the importance of maintaining relationships with them, with the ancestors. It's a continuity thing, a sense of belonging. And we need to teach our children that there's nothing negative about this. Unfortunately, many of our kids have been taught that there's something weird about, ancestral, they call it ancestral worship. We're not worshiping ancestors, we're connected to them, we're remembering them, we're honoring them, because someday we will become ancestors. When I have, sometimes my daughter, my youngest girl, will call me and we will have a session with the ancestors. And it gives her confidence, it makes her feel good, and it allows her to go to the battle. When you run your 10,000 ancestors minimum are behind you, how in the world can you not succeed? So if you have that understanding that you're not by yourself, you still have your people, the spirit of your ancestors with you, so you're never alone. That's the importance of knowing our spirituality and practicing it. And I felt it was very, very important to talk about the soul, because that we are the soul. The soul doesn't die. We are the soul of the ancestors who have come back, etc., etc. So I want us to reflect on these examples that I have given you, and that should, quite frankly, reveal to you that we as African people have a very rich tapestry of beliefs surrounding the soul in African spirituality. The soul is more. So by exploring the soul's journey from birth to the afterlife, it is, I'm hoping that you appreciate the deep cultural values, and that's what's important, the values that we are sharing and the practices that shape the understanding of existence within various cultures. And I just gave a few. There's so many, obviously, there are many countries in Africa, and hopefully we'll all become one, but nonetheless, there are different cultural expressions, different communities. So this is to help us all collectively foster a sense of respect for diverse spiritual perspectives, but also highlight the universal theme that we all share, the connection, the identity that we all share, and the continuity of the human experience from our own African vineyards. Okay, we cannot always continue to glorify other people. It's time that we glorify ourselves. Now I want to take the time right now. There are some comments that were made here, Yudi, and I just want us to just kind of and please feel free, if you have any questions that you want to ask about what we just talked about, please type it here and we'll be sure to answer it. Let's see, Sovereign said there are many written in our language. It was stolen and translated into English. No, this is a conversation she's having with Akachi, I believe. Yeah, planets die, solar systems, etc., etc. But there's a comment here made by Akachi that I found into. He said, "This is what she says," and I really want to answer that. He says, "We can't build a person up if we don't exist in community. Real villages require real people in person for real life connection. This is eroding with digital communities, another Western deviation." I agree. I agree with what she said to some degree. But let's also remember that if you look at the Chinese, the Indian, all of that, many of them live away from their motherland, but they have a community. They build a community here.
Wherever they go.
Wherever they are, they build a community. And I can imagine, Akachi, meaning that, the diversity in African communities. That's why I always say, find which one works for you and be a part of that. You know, there are different African cultures here. There are the Ghanaians here. There are the Nigerians here. There, of course, there's still diversity within that, But I would say, just find what is comfortable for you.
And just live and let live.
And make that a part of at least some aspects of what they practice, because she's right. We need a community. So we need to get in the habit when we are outside of the African continent that we don't dissipate. We don't decide, okay, well, all of a sudden we're not African anymore. We still there are many organizations here in America, different African organizations. And if you want to know who they are, you just go to the internet and type in, organizations of Ghana, organizations of Nigeria, organizations of Ethiopia, etc., and check them out. See which one touches your soul.
Let me just interject right quick. I'm not saying anything, just to add. When you're looking, make sure that these organizations have African culture and spirituality in their essence as what they are. Because there's a whole lot of African organizations out there that ain't doing anything African.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You check them out and see, because you're right. Not all of our people are interested in being African. And we're not necessarily, it's a global world. We're not isolating ourselves to the degree that we don't want to see the rest of the world. That's not the point. But our culture is teaching our children our culture and following some of these discussions that we just had will help them build a community that would not only nurtures them, but then they'll feel the obligation to nurture that community. That's why we say, you're here, you're showing off how rich you are, and your mama's naked. Your mama's nakedness is your community's nakedness, So that if we can teach them to see the value in community, engagement, that's what we must do. So thank you, Akachi, for that comment. Now, there's another thing she said here. We haven't yet created Africa Town. The Asians have little China. Well, you know what? I've got to be honest with you. The reason why many African projects, programs, people fight it, because you're a powerful people. Trust me on that. They're not fighting you because you're weak. You're being fought because you're powerful beyond measure. You see what I'm saying? So some people think it's in their best interest to keep you disjointed and disorganized.
Because without them, without you, they can't survive.
Yeah, so that some of those things that you want to create. Remember, historically, all these communities where African people tried to build their communities and they were doing very well, they were destroyed. So it is a point well taken, but we can't stop. We can't stop. And the African community we're talking about could start in your backyard. It could start in your basement. It can start with you joining an existing African community. And here's the thing, and I'm going to give the African American community this, and I hope you hear me. When you go to any African American, any African organization, and you want to be a part of them, you need to actually share your thoughts on your observation. They need to know. It's not enough to come and just participate and just sit in the background. No, if you have indeed selected that community to be a part of it, then if you observe things that are not right and make you uncomfortable, you need to say it, because they need to hear it. They need to hear. We need to hear from our brothers and sisters in diaspora how we're conducting ourselves, because sometimes we don't conduct ourselves the way we're supposed to, you see. So I certainly encourage African diasporan Africans who want to be connected. Now, some don't, but many do. If you find a community you want to be a part of, and there's something that's kind of off, ask why it's the way the way it's being presented. If you find it uncomfortable, take the time and do make a comment about it. You thought?
I mean, what do you call it? I'm all for us really taking the time, especially African Americans or any, Jamaicans, whoever, diasporan Africans, to really get involved in African organizations. As a matter of fact, for Africans to get involved in African American organizations, it's really imperative that we understand each other's experiences. I mean, we're Black, as skin color, we face the same race, prejudice and racism. When somebody sees me as a Black person and they're racist, they're not going to ask me, are you Nigerian? I like Nigerians better than Jamaicans. I like Jamaicans better than H. No, you're a Black person, and that racism is going to be spewed on you, just like it's going to be spewed on a Jamaican. So how the rest of the world sees the African or Black folks is uniform. So what we need to do to foster unity, because it's very important that we are united as a people, as Africans, to be able to really deal with the level of racism that is, that comes at us. And one of the ways to do it is, number one, you have to be unified, and then be unified with a common purpose, be unified under a cultural banner, because all other nations, when their interest is at stake, they rally around their spirituality. When the interest of the Arabs or the Persians, like Iran, because of their history, spiritual history, they rally around Islam. That's how they identify themselves. The Iranians are Sunni. Shiites. Saudi Arabians are Sunnis. They're two distinct schools of Islam or Mohammedanism, but when their interest is at stake, particularly when there's an onslaught from Western powers, they all rally around Islam. In Europe, it's the same thing. French, Belgium, British, Iceland, Sweden, it doesn't matter. They're all Christian nations. And when their interest is at stake, they rally around Christianism. And when they decide to leave Europe to go kill somebody else as opposed to themselves, they use Christianity as a weapon of choice to kill you and justify the murder of you with their Bible, which the book they wrote, a book that is supposed to control their own behavior, but a book that also gives them a way out when they're bad. For example, it doesn't matter if you're a racist. It doesn't matter if you molest young children, boys, girls, serial killer, Adolf Hitler, Genghis Khan, Attila the Hun, Tsar of Nicholas. It doesn't matter who you are, Emperor Hirohito, it doesn't really matter. All you got to do is accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and trust me, that girl you just raped last night, that 5-year-old you just murdered, God will forgive you, because God is in the business of forgiving you when you're a monster. So God follows you. Like my dad always told me, I remember I was speaking with him in 1996. I'll never forget this. I actually taped it. My father, Ahanke Okonyo, said to me, your belief in God is only dependent on your conjecture of what God is. Because even a thief prays before he goes to burgle. And if he burgles successfully and is successful with his stealing, guess who gets the credit for his success? God. I thank God that I wasn't caught. I thank God that I wasn't busted. All of a sudden, God is a thief now because you weren't busted. So when you talk about God, you talk about creation, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And God to us is what we make God to be, because God lives in our imagination. That's my word for the day.
He say. Thank you. I have a question here from Akachi again. The rest of you, please feel free to ask questions. Let me see. So yeah, okay. She has a very interesting question. She says, "What ways can we connect to the soul, deeply live out who we are at the core?"
Yeah.
At the core. There's a song that we sing. Adimochani mobim, dekwansoni memo. Understanding your soul and the fact that your soul connects you to Chineke may mandate that you remind yourself of that and engage in some kind of meditation, quiet time, Go outside. I do that often. You go outside when it's very early in the morning. These days I don't always have the time to do that in the morning because I'm always gone very early. But you know, you go outside, take your shoes off, connect to the Mother Earth, you know, get that energy of Earth, of Allah, to go through your body and into your whole, through your feet into your whole body, and just connect to your spirit and remind yourself, I am connected. I am connected with Chineke. Every single day you do that, you'll find yourself a little bit more at ease with who you are, a little bit more connected to Chineke. When you step out and, you know, block out the noise of the world, you know, block out, and I mean seriously, it's not an easy thing to do. You actually must do it. You know, quiet your mind. That's what you want to do, you know, so that you can tune in with your soul, your inner self, you know. You must do that every day. The noise of the world will cause you not to do it. You know, you do it one day, then the next day, and then by the third day you're done. You know, you have to be reminded again to do it. But you have to make it a practice, you know. It's called mindfulness. I'm sure you know what that is. You know, so that's one thing. And also I always encourage that people get in tune with nature. You know, find the time to be in tune with nature. You know, it's not enough to go in a church environment where all the noise exists.
Oh, okay. I don't mean to stop you, but just to tell you what just happened to you, I just checked. All that stuff you talk about, that we talk about, but you always talk about it. I just Googled and I seen your quote right there on Google.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. What quote?
As a source of information on Chineke. The stuff that we talk about here, and you talk about it a lot, and the way you just talked about it, I was just looking at it verbatim.
Yes.
Right? And it's AI.
You see that?
Yeah. So our definition of that stuff is right there. It's the first thing that comes up when you put it.
Because that's how we think.
Yeah.
That's how we think. You know, we go outside and we stand on the on Earth, on Mother Earth, and and then connect within us, you know, and not just block out the noise of the world. You know, if the world is noisy, it keeps you from going within. But you have to develop the discipline to know, okay, this is my turn, and you do it every single day. And that's why it's important that you know, we as Africans, we're very connected to nature, and we return to nature. You know, nature does everything for us. Nature doesn't have a holy book. Nature is the holy book. Yeah. You know, nature feeds us. Nature gives us the sun, the air, the light. Everything comes from nature. So if you're really looking to be in tune with the Creator, you be out there in nature, you know, but you take the moment to go inwardly, you know, and find yourself. And how you find your soul is talk to yourself and do all that you can to get quiet. And you know, when my father was alive in Michigan, he was visiting in Michigan. He would take me it was late at night, because I was marveled at some of things my father could do, you know, and I wanted to know some of it, you know, when he does his incantations and all that sort of thing, and I wanted to learn. And he said, well, he thought I was ready. I said, oh, good, you know. So we went into this pitch black room, and we all had to dress in our white. And I was a nervous wreck. I didn't know what I was going to see. I didn't know what to expect. But he told me that what I'm going to experience is something that I've never experienced before. And so he did his incantation, and he asked me to be quiet, don't move, just sit where he asked me to sit. And I sat there, and he was doing his incantation. And I tell you guys, the room just these little lights just started moving around, and then they started forming like human form, you know, ethereal. They were quite ethereal, and they came and sat around us. And Dad said, "Don't move, just sit there." And he's doing his incantation, And after that, I didn't know what he was saying, but whatever he was saying, it just brought so much peace, and it brought these ethereal figures around, and they were just walking around, and I could see them. And then afterward, whatever he said, they dissipated, and he turned the light on, and he asked me what I thought. I couldn't tell him. I just couldn't talk. It was just the most beautiful thing, because at that moment, he taught me to be quiet. Don't listen to the noise of the world. Just be quiet, and you will find that you're not alone. You're surrounded by your ancestors, and that you will find peace. And I did. And my daughter has been asking me, Kalena has been asking me for us to do the exercise that I did with my dad. My only thing right now is I'm still learning what he, the words he was using, his incantation, but the point I'm trying to make here is that you can't find your soul, you can't find your spirit, you can't be connected, but you've got to get quiet. You got to be quiet. You can either do that inside in the dark, or you can be outside in nature. And that's my little contribution to that one. Nature is queen. Yes. Nature is who's it? Yes, nature is queen. JVSTJ. Yes, nature is queen. If we can just connect, find our grounding. That's what it is. It allows you to ground yourself, and become. It's amazing what you become when you actually become in tune with yourself, your spirit. That you connect to Chineke and you're connected to nature. It's amazing. Akachi said, yeah, that's what I said. Nature is a holy book. There you go. It really is. It really is.
Let me address Akachi and then real quick for that question that you had posed.
Yes, go ahead.
Akachi Neke, to be able to tap into your soul, first you have to think about your name for a second. Aka Chineke. Chineke, the creator. Aka Chineke. Right? It's how Chineke does business. Aka Chuku. Aka Luchuku. Your God's project. Look at yourself that way. First of all, that's how you look at yourself. Your name. Aka Chineke. That already right there give you the spiritual oomph to look yourself in the mirror and say, yes, Chineke loves me. Yes. Now, how do you prepare your soul to represent that beautiful name that you got? We have something called Okukwe Chiism, and I'm just going to read a few of them. And perhaps if you and all of us tap into this, that will become a little bit more, as we say, soulful, right?
Yes.
We're a lot more palatable when we talk. We're a lot more palatable when people are around us. We become a joy. I believe in the Almighty Creator because my name is Aka Chineke. The essence of God is in me. Chineke, the creator of the heavens and earth, as my source of inspiration, strength, and my protector. That's your name right there. Let's just start with you understanding and realizing that. Build your soul up. I believe in the Almighty Chineke because my name is Aka Chineke. As my inspiration, strength, and as my protector, I believe in the universal brotherhood and sisterhood of man and woman under the parenthood of one Chineke. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Do unto others as you would want others to do unto you. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not lie. And in respect and obedience to elders, just laws, and in retributive justice. That's a handful of things for you to observe and do. But if we all can achieve what I just read to you, which is the second creed of Chiism, if we believe in the brotherhood and sisterhood of all, let's start there. We get to gain our soul back. We get to be soulful. We get to earn the name Aka Chineke.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. And always take stock. okay, on what you have achieved thus far, what you have done. What are some of those good things that you have done? Who are you? What have you achieved? What do you believe in? What have you experienced in life, that can help you understand who you are better? Take stock of that. Make notes of that. It's a long, detailed thing, that a process that you have to engage in. But that's part of it. Becoming one with nature. I have my front deck. I've just created a divine nature space for myself there. I've got plants on top of plants. You haven't seen it recently, but that's my little shrine right there. Flowers, plants. I'm one with nature. So I get up early, and I'm there, and I pour my libations in my plants, and I talk to myself, and I go within. Go within, and even reflect on what I did yesterday. Reflect on what I did yesterday, and how what I did yesterday will impact what I do tomorrow. Self-reflection is very, very important. So, and she says, you are so welcome, Akachi. Life is it's still a journey for all of us, still, because we're still trying to discover what our ancestors did and how that impacts. Before I used to be, concerned about, okay, how much money have I made here? How much money? And I don't concern myself with that anymore. My peace is more important to me. Certainly money is important, but to be peaceful, keep my blood pressure down.
And that's the truth. I know that's right.
What I'm saying, Akachi also says, I do my workouts outdoors and barefoot. It's amazing. Yes, it is. You feel so connected and refreshed. Yes, I do as well. You can't beat that. And anytime any one of us feel that things are going wrong, go back into, become in tune with yourself, and go talk to nature. Nature talks back to you. Talk to your ancestors. They talk back. When I have my sessions, I call upon all those ancestors and say, come on, we've got a problem to deal with here, and so we're not always lost, as sometimes we think we are. We're not always lost, or we don't need to be lost, because Chineke has given us everything that we need to keep us, grounded. But we just have rejected it, and we're seeking Chineke from perspectives that have nothing to do with our reality. I look at, I don't know about you, sometimes I go online and I look at all these different different countries all over the world. You know what I'm saying? And it's so interesting to see how the world lives, and some of those things, some of those places that I go and see how they live has nothing to do with my reality. I've never seen anything like that, But if they tell me that's how they see their God, who am I to say it's not true? Just because it's different. You see what I'm saying? Instead, you learn from this diversity, add it to your repertoire. The body show. I say, I share words of wisdom to add to your repertoire. Add. Don't always take away.
Do that.
To take away. Don't add. Take what you will, and what you don't need, don't take. You see what I'm saying? So thank you for that question, Akachi. Let's see. One little comment, she said, I can't even step in the backyard with shoes anymore. It feels like this service to the grass. To the grass. I hear you. Once you get comfortable with nature, you will find, quite frankly, that where you were looking outside of yourself and outside of your culture, you will find that, oh my goodness, that's not even necessary anymore. I know who I am, and I can get to where I need to get to. I just need to remind myself and continue to practice it, And that's our show for today. And for all of you who were born today or day of Ufufe, a happy Earth Day to all of you. I hope that you can join us. I just want to share this right quick. We were supposed to have our ceremony, or Ultra International, Chism International presents Ultra. International Spiritual Peace Conference was supposed to have been on the 28th, but we had to reschedule it because some individuals could not make it. Some very important people could not make it. So we had to reschedule it for September the 28th, 2025. I'm going to post this flyer, and some of you have, if you can come to Georgia, it will be what an experience, because we're going to have Chiism, Godian religion will be reflected, Ifa religion will be there, Christian religion will be there, Islam will be there, Hinduism will be there, Rastafarians will be there, Buddhists will be there, Taoists will be there, Shintoists will be there. It's going to be a wonderful, it's going to be a big, fantastic libation ceremony. And each one of them will pour libations in their own way, and to create this whole thing that's so necessary right here. One heart, one love, one purpose. So if you can make it, I'm going to have this posted in Chiism Live on Facebook, and it will also be on our website, chiism.org. And anybody who's interested in attending, please leave us a note, a message that you want to participate, so that we can tell you how and where you can, where you can be housed and all that sort of thing. All right. I want to tell, somebody made a comment here. Let me see. This is Kevin Lips. Souls are people think about do not exist. Souls as people think about do not exist. Okay. I'm not quite sure what he's saying there.
I know what he's saying. What he's saying is just
human beings don't have an internal spirit like that. Okay, that's an opinion. And then he says, like any other things such as karma, they don't exist. Okay, well, people all have their own. That's what we talked.
That's what I said. He's just a disruptor. Like I said, he's just in here to,
but that's okay. I don't mind. There's something about his life, okay, that makes him feel that way. But we have enough knowledge and joy in who we are in our culture that what our ancestors taught us sounds good to us, and we work around that, and it makes us whole human beings, and we feel good about it. And hopefully he will find something that will make him hold on to his to a different reality. But I'm not going to force that. It's up to him. I'm sure his reality has taught him that all these things don't exist. But until we see again next Sunday, we're not going to have Chiism Live, but we're going to each one of us is going to have something to contribute to Chiism Network. So hopefully you go to Chiism Network on Facebook page and join us there. And if we have something something posted there, you can take advantage and learn from it. Thank you, Akachi. Thank you for those wonderful words. Thank you for thank you, Kevin Lips, even for your comments. We appreciate you. I want to thank One Piece Speed. Thank you for being here. JVST, Akami Bro, Sovereign, DOCC, etc. Thank you all for being with us. We really do appreciate you, and we really look forward to seeing you again when we meet again. Thank you. Take care of yourselves. Udo diruno. Yagazi. Yudi, thank you so very much, obviously, as always. Somebody say something last minute. Okay. So Akachi's handling that.
Yeah.
So anyway, here we are. Thank you, Kemesiano. And so it is. Have a good day. Let me go and drink some coffee, some tea, or whatever I need to do to get myself going.
I know that's right.
Talk to you soon.
All right.